Hey guys, I'm Heather French Henry. Some of y'all know me as Miss America 2000, and some of y'all just know me from the work I do for veterans and here in the community. Hey Tara, what's going on?
Hi Heather, what a surprise to find you here.
I know, with the mic and everything.
My gosh, it's great. Oh my God, it's so good to see you. And you sometimes know her also as a dog mom, which is why on Waggin Wednesday, we decided to have her as our guest because she does so many things and she does them so well. But I tell you what, your animal, I never imagined you having 3 dogs.
Yes.
And do you have a cat?
We have multiple cats.
Oh my
yes,
God.
It is like, we have a revolving door.
You have nothing else to do in your life, and you have an entire house full.
A farm, man.
A farm.
We just need the chickens, which is a big deal in the Highlands for people to have chickens. We're not quite there yet.
A Grinstead Drive farm.
That's exactly right.
My Lord, woman.
Well, you know, I grew up with a lot of animals.
You did?
Yeah, in our house.
Maysville?
In Augusta.
Oh, Augusta.
Well, we grew up in Augusta and Maysville.
Yes.
So part of my life in Augusta where I grew up, and we had the corner house where people would just drop off their pets, right? When they didn't want the pets. And so we just we collected all of these pets. And I've never really gotten away from that. And so we have 2 German Shepherds, Greta and Buckner. Greta is the matriarch of the family.
Greta's my favorite.
Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. She understands every word that you're saying.
Yep.
She's so intelligent. She looks at you like, what are you doing and why did you do this to me? Because she looks at Buckner, who is our younger German Shepherd. He is so handsome.
Yes.
Sometimes not all the wheels are running, but he's so handsome.
Yes.
He's a mama's boy.
Kind of like Brady.
Yes. And then we have a dog that was Stephen's mother's dog, Carly, and we inherited her. Carly's pretty special.
Yes.
And we're not quite sure about Carly's background, but she was a rescue dog.
Yeah.
And I think she was probably severely beaten. But, you know, she's been with us for years, but she still has some anxious tendencies, certainly. So, but she loves being with the big dog. She thinks she is a big dog.
Yes, she does.
And she, you know, small dogs are always the yappers, right? And so Greta and Buckner just let Carly yap. When somebody's at the door, Greta will do the first bark, Buckner will do the big bark, and then Carly does the yapping, and then they just stop and let her continue to yap. And then she runs in circles too.
See, and Gracie is the instigator, and the boys will not bark until she barks.
Oh, gotcha.
But then it just is like cacophony. Everybody's in it.
Everybody's in it.
It's
like the chorus of,
it's
right?
the puppy pack. They just run out the door like the Hallelujah chorus, like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir at full volume.
Sure.
And the people who are just walking by, you know, aimlessly wandering down the streets of Crescent Hill.
Yes, that's right. Just shock.
Well, when I came by one day and saw you guys out in the yard, and I squealed to a halt so I could say hi to everybody, all of the dogs were out in the yard.
Yes, of course.
And they were so cute. And Carly was a little hesitant.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But she finally came up to me, and she was very loving.
Oh, absolutely.
And very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a skin condition of some sort, doesn't she?
She does, yes.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
It usually only happens as the months warm up. During the colder months, sort of goes away. So we're seeking treatment for that. When we grew up, you know, what's interesting, so when we were little and you had pets, I never noticed high vet bills, annual this, annual that, you know, MRIs, hip replace, and I'm sitting there looking at dogs now and I'm like, we must have the most expensive pets ever. Like, no one has more expensive pets. Greta has never really cost us a lot of money. She does pretty well. Buckner has continuously had problems. German Shepherds can be prone to rectal polyps, so we've had some issues there. You know, talking about things I never thought I would talk about, certainly.
Rectal polyps in our dogs.
And then Carly with her skin condition. And then, of course, we have cats. So from time to time we will rescue cats from Augusta because Augusta is known for having a lot of feral cats out there, and usually the ones we bring home wind up already being pregnant. So they have kittens.
Oh my gosh!
As did this last one. So we have a new kitten in the house, and his name is Simba. And
did you get homes for the rest of them already?
Well, one of them actually just ran away, and cats tend to be transient like that, certainly. So, you know, you get concerned, but then not too concerned. I always say cats are like women. Just leave us alone, we'll be fine.
And dogs are not. Dogs are not.
You know, I love them. They take a lot of attention. You know, when you leave for vacation, it's really the dogs you worry about.
That's exactly
the
right.
cats, you're like, I'm sure you've got the house. We're good.
Do you know that when I went into the hospital for a few days, I had an infection that turned septic, which was pretty scary. But I was in the hospital for 3 days, and all I could think about
for the dogs.
Was the dog. I mean, that was the only problem that I'm lying there dying with 105-degree temperature, and I'm like, what's going on with Brady, Gracie, and Wyatt? Thank God I've got a puppy cam on my phone.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so I can look
nice.
and I can talk to them.
Very nice.
They look at me and I see them at the door barking, and I say, stop it.
And
They go back. The voice
swear
of
she was
God.
gone. Where is she?
They go back and they lie down. But seriously, that's all you think about.
It is, because they do take special attention, but I can't imagine life without pets.
No.
Certainly. Life might be easier without pets.
Well,
but
can you imagine your girls growing up without them, though?
No,
That's
not
been
at all.
an integral part of your family.
Absolutely it is. And I think what's sad is you get to sort of in the long-term care of a dog, Greta with her hip problems, German Shepherds are prone to hip issues, hip dysplasia, and you see her aging, and it's a little harder for her to get up. But then you see the young Greta come back up. There are days where she's spry and she's good, but you can tell she's slowing down, and she's a mama's girl as well. And when we lost her, the fireworks were just past 4th of July.
We should tell that story. Tell that story because it's such a fond memory for me.
Right. So we had gone to Kings Island for the 4th of July.
That's right.
My dad is a veteran, of course, and they give military discounts for veterans and families on 4th of July. And so we went up there, and they were in at that time we just had the invisible fence yard.
Right.
Now we've actually got a fenced-in kennel, which is good.
So really good.
Yeah. So Greta literally with the fireworks just launched out of the yard.
Yep.
And she just must have continued to run and run and run because the fireworks were just everywhere around her.
And she was young, so she could go a long way.
She was, and it scared her. She even gets nervous during thunderstorms. Like Buckner doesn't get nervous during thunderstorms. Greta definitely does. And so she wound up missing for like 3 days.
Yep.
And I remember I posted it everywhere on Facebook, you name it. We were riding around in the middle of the night, yelling. I couldn't even go to sleep. I was crying. And so we went up to, I remember coming up to the dog run up here at Cherokee Park and asking someone if they'd seen a German Shepherd. And they're like, no, I just got him from California, but I saw it posted on Facebook. I'm like, that's our dog.
Yeah, come around here,
Taylor.
girlfriend.
Why don't you say hi?
We're talking about Greta. See that mic right there? Put that mic on for 2 seconds.
Hi.
Or just hold it in your hand. Yeah.
Yeah, my friends are over there.
Hi,
Right now.
friends. How
Oh,
are
God,
you?
Please.
This is Taylor.
Hi.
And she is, she just said to me she remembered the story about Greta. What do you remember the most about her?
I remember
Greta.
I remember when we lost Greta, it was Harper's birthday, and it was scary, and I never thought that I would lose a dog, and it just terrified me.
Yeah.
Right, and then it was on July 6th, right on Harper's birthday, that we then were at Holiday World. I mean, it really took a lot within me to say, hey, we're gonna go to Holiday World, but we knew we had everybody in their, brother and mother looking for her, and Metro Animal was looking for her as well.
Yep.
And then we got a call from you, Miss Tara, and we were in the water park. We'd only been there a couple hours, and I literally grabbed the girls and Steve, and I was like, we're leaving.
We're out of here.
And
We gotta
she said,
go
"What?"
now.
I said, they found Greta, and there was not one comment made. We just got in the car, we drove like a bat out of Hades, and came home. And you all had Miss Greta, and an officer had found her
Thanks
underneath
to Louisville
the porch.
Metro Animal Services. That was remarkable.
But I thought what was funny is the officer had, whenever you find a German Shepherd, especially injured, people get really leery because German Shepherds, police dogs, I think of aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Greta obviously is not one of those.
She's a very
I don't mean to
Yeah,
cut
I
this
know.
short, but I gotta
She's
go.
friends. She's a teenager.
Bye.
Good to see you, girlfriend.
Good to see you too.
See ya.
So
fun. Whole nother topic.
Yeah, right.
Teenagers.
Oh, listen, that's a couple of different shows.
Several days.
Yes. So when the officer, I remember she said she was concerned, and then when she reached under, Greta started licking her face. And so instead of putting her like in the caged unit of the cruiser, she put her in the front seat, and then you all wrapped her paws. And let me tell you, she is a queen.
And then we went to Kroger, your daughter and I.
That's right, and got a
it was
cake.
Her
It was her
birthday,
birthday.
Harper's birthday, and she's like, I don't have a cake. And you're like, she doesn't have a cake.
No,
We can go to Dirty Kroger and get her a cake. So we did.
There's nothing wrong with buying pre-made sheet cakes.
I love
Every
I love
mother out
Kroger
there,
cakes.
there's nothing wrong with that.
I would rather have a Kroger cake than anything that is made. They're my delicious cakes.
So funny. But it's just, that's life. Life happens in those moments. And, that was of the utmost priority. It was Harper's birthday. But, you just take one stride at a time. And I think if that's one thing I could tell, young mothers especially, it's like, just take it as it comes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can plan all day long, and there's some great moments that you can plan that are worth that, but life is just going to happen.
Yeah, and it happens quickly.
Flexibility's in the contract.
Well, and one of the things that happened in that particular incident was that the girls got to make a major television appearance.
They did.
With
and
Becca
Greta
White
did too.
and me, and you brought Greta, and they were so cute. They wrote their names on the green room wall at WBKI for Louisville Live, and they were so precious when they told the story. And you were really emotional because you already were just in love with that dog.
Oh, well, Greta she's my girl. And,
Yeah.
I couldn't even, when she was gone for those 3 days, I didn't sleep a wink. I would go outside and just yell for her, thinking that, maybe she's finding her way home.
Yeah.
And it was heart-wrenching. People out there who have dogs know they become a part of your family.
Yeah.
And
I went through that too.
Yeah,
A long time.
tough.
So dogs and cats and teenagers. Let's move on to the
teenagers.
teenagers.
Speaking of pets,
I have no experience other than with aunts and with nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews. But my God, I see you on Facebook posting pictures of Heather's Girls Are Fierce #, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I've watched these two grow up. I've known you since Harper was in the womb.
That's right.
A little before that, actually.
That's right.
But I tell you what, they are remarkable kids, and for being in a family with the exposure that, a Miss America and a lieutenant governor have, as active and as visible as you guys are over these years, and, I do know how you've done it, because you're remarkably grounded.
Well, I
And
appreciate
Steve's
that.
remarkably grounded.
That is true. I think we come from very similar backgrounds
Right.
of, hardworking parents and families, and we both had to climb the totem pole, so
Yeah.
to speak, because we weren't born with. I don't want to diminish my background, say we weren't born with a lot of influence, but you know what I mean. When you're in a small town and
Yeah.
you're kind of the bottom of the totem pole, you definitely don't come from a family with money. That just makes you have to work twice as hard, certainly. And I had great aspirations of going to college, wanting to be Miss America. For me, everything was possible, but
Yes.
I knew that I was going to have to work twice as hard to get there. And Steve, similarly, his mom and dad had great work ethic as well, and so that's something that has kept us grounded. We don't forget our background, certainly, and we brought that into raising our children as well. I think the hardest part about raising children, once you have obtained a certain level of success, right?
Yes.
Because you always want to give your children more than you have.
Exactly.
But you have because you work so hard, right? So it's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
So then when you have children, and it's great that you can give, but how do you instill in them that same work ethic? But because they're not being raised in the same dynamic way that you were raised in.
No, you were raised in Maysville, and he was raised in Owensboro or someplace close to Owensboro.
Right,
And
and
they're being
so-
raised in Louisville.
Right, with every amenity,
Yep.
close at hand,
Yep.
and certainly, and we do not lavish them with their every wants and needs. There's certainly every Christmas we look at each other and go, we certainly got them way too much. That's a normal given. You
Even
sort
when
of
they
get in the
were
spirit.
one.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say that I think because we have kept them involved in things that we do
Yes.
as a family unit, and it is interesting, when we were just honored at Whitehall not
I
too
saw
long ago.
that. That was beautiful.
And in one of the videos, one of our friends who was interviewed talked specifically about how he was impressed that we do move as a unit, that we always involve the girls in everything that we do. And I never really thought of that as odd, but I think it is extremely important. And when people think of Heather and Steve, they also think of Harper and Taylor.
Absolutely.
And it's important also for the future of our projects. The projects that Steve and I are involved in aren't just projects for us, it's projects for our girls, hopefully, to take on that legacy in the future,
And
a
they
legacy
will.
of service.
Yeah.
Certainly. And there are moments that I'm sure they hate everything that we do.
We just want to go to Big Rock and play. We don't want to be on
That's
TV.
right.
We don't want to talk
It's kind
about.
of like the Future Fund. Harper and
is.
Taylor, we go out there and we're great partners with the Parklands of Floyd's Fork. In fact, the land that Stephen has acquired, half of the lands of the Parklands come from the Future Fund.
Yes.
And Stephen's been doing that for 25 years. And the girls just commented one time we were out there working, they said, might we at some point actually get to enjoy the Parklands instead of coming out here to work
No.
and I'm
No.
like, one day.
I
One day.
love that. And here we always like to thank wherever host location we are for Take It From Tara, and today we are at Big Rock. So thank you, City of Louisville.
That's right, Cherokee Park. I mean, what a
This
great
was her idea. I love it. And now we're starting to feel,
the critters,
gnat things coming out. But I have to do something here.
Okay.
Catherine Ray Ziegler says, Big Rock, and then she says, hey, ladies, and then Janet Hatfield Loman,
hey!
who is a frequent visitor to Take It From Tara, says, hey, girls, love you both. And Rebecca Eves from the Aerofin sends a heart.
Nice.
And Janet says, gotta head out of here in Vegas, but just want to say how proud I am of both of you, your love for animals, and Heather, your life's work for our homeless veterans. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks.
June Kelly Roy sends her love. She's a marvelous songstress, as we all know. And Catherine, who has teenagers as well. She has 4 kids.
Oh.
She has 2 teenagers, a 3-year-old, and an infant.
Oh, well,
and a husband, and
she's
2
a
dogs,
queen among us.
and some cats. So you guys would get from teens to babies. Totally agree. Take it one day at a time.
Absolutely.
Auntie Tara, Emma, and Mimi are watching. Hi, girls. I love you. And we've got a whole bunch of people: Marlon Gaines, Scott Edlin, Paul Culligan. I'm gonna stop there because a lot of people are watching you. But
great.
I think that one of the things that always impresses me. Oh, and by the way, my friend Catherine Ziegler has second-degree Agent Orange. So she's been dealing with that.
Yes.
Yeah, her dad passed it along genetically, and he passed away. But she has had remarkable physical health issues as a result of inheriting that. And I'm really interested always in knowing what the CDC is doing and what the VA is doing, and those are things that we can talk about at another time. But I kind of want to transition from dogs and kids into work, because that's pretty much the way things go. You meet a guy, you get a dog together, then you get married, and then you decide 5-10 years later that you've had enough of each other, so you add to the pack and you have kids and dogs. And then you start thinking, God, we should really try to pay for these things. Let's get jobs. You have multiple jobs. You started out.
We didn't quite do all of ours in that order,
well,
but
okay.
it's okay. That seems much more logical.
You got the dogs later.
Yeah,
you got the dogs after the kids.
Kids came first. Yeah, absolutely.
God, you had your priorities way out of order.
I know. What was I thinking?
I don't know.
It's that whole one day at a time thing. So we do. I've always had multiple jobs, even going through college. I had 3 jobs going through design school, just to pay for the Orange Academy and paint, because design school doesn't teach you low budgeting.
That's right.
Certainly. But I've always been a worker. You start babysitting as soon as you could. Then I worked at McDonald's and drive-through in high school. Then
you want fries with that?
Absolutely, I was a great presenter
at
McDonald's.
Oh my God, they must have loved it.
Yes, I loved it certainly. And so I've always worked. And when I came home as Miss America, just kind of went back into the work mode. Miss America was incredible work, certainly. And then Steve was in politics at the time, so helped him out there, and then went on television at WDRB, which was such a great experience, certainly. And a lot of Miss Americas, we come away with that experience with a lot of broadcast experience.
Yes.
So it's kind of natural to go into that, certainly.
And you did
I will say, getting to work around 3:30 in the morning was not my favorite gig, ever. People are like, were you tired? Yes. Every day, you never get used to that.
No.
And so built a lot of great friendships, obviously, from that experience. But my work with veterans has always remained my constant. So I had a foundation for veterans, still do. I had an evening wear line for 7 years, so I was traveling the world for 7 years, about 5 times a year. Had 150 retailers carrying my gowns. I still have an online store, but I got a call during the Bashir administration to take over the Department of Veterans Affairs for Kentucky.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that every state has a state Department of Veterans Affairs.
Right.
We are not the federal department.
Right.
We don't run the hospitals, but we do partner with them to help veterans navigate the system. But more importantly, we also have our own state and regional benefits and facilities for veterans that we operate on a state level. And so I did that for the Bashir administration, and when Bevan came on board, then he asked me to stay on board as deputy commissioner, so sort of being the number 2. But our department has 910 employees, 4 state veteran cemeteries, 5 state veteran cemeteries, 120 counties worth of veterans resources. And it really is, when I look at the scope of my life and all the work that I've done, besides being a wife and a mother, but career-wise, this is, to me, it's probably the pinnacle, because it encompasses everything that I'm made of, even my design work, because when you bring in that sort of creativeness into government realm, and I'd also led a nonprofit, you're able to really execute things in quite a beautiful way.
Yes.
And a unique way that other people may not think about it. So when we design things like the Kentucky World War I Centennial events, like the State Fair exhibit, when you work with others for the Camp Zachary Taylor Garage Project, I really utilize all the skills that I have built, and I learn how to gather resources in a very creative way. So this job,
that
what I'm
involves
doing,
stealing sometimes.
and stealing,
Gathering resources in a creative way.
that is called why buy when you can bum, Tara.
Exactly.
Everyone who has led a nonprofit knows
That's exactly
that is that's right, gathering resources in a very creative way.
That's exactly right.
See, I was in television. I know how to phrase
Do you know what's really funny is I'm just watching you and I'm thinking, we were talking about dogs, we were talking about kids, and as soon as we get into the Veterans Affairs, your demeanor changes.
Oh,
and you become the, adjutant, and you become the king and the queen and all those things. It's just hilarious to watch.
Well, but
I love it.
When you speak about veterans, I mean, there's sort of a reverence that goes with how you speak about serving them and because of their service to our country, and it means a lot. My dad being a Vietnam veteran, and I want every veteran to be treated, and their family to be treated like I want my father to be treated, certainly.
Yes.
And we've done some extraordinary things. We still have some extraordinary things to do, but I really enjoy that work. And people always have this incredible vision for my own future. I love to hear what people think about what I'm going to do, because I hear it all the time. Oh, I heard you were going to do this, and I will say at this point in time, I mean, serving veterans, I will say I am probably in a comfort zone, which sometimes makes you second guess, am I too comfortable where I am? But I love where I am, and I love what I get to do. My girls have constantly said, Mom, how do I know when I'm going to be in the right place, what I want to do for the rest of my life? And I said, when you can retain knowledge of certain things, like in a moment's notice at the craziest hour, then you know that that's the area that you're going to be working in, because you care to retain that knowledge.
Isn't that amazing when you stop to think about it? Yeah. You retain knowledge about that. Well, it's like teachers.
Sure.
They go through educational classes and they retain a lot of things, and then they turn around and they spread it back out to their students.
Right.
And they love it.
Absolutely. And they know they love it because they can sit there and do it without having a book in front of them. Or, at our office, we get such unique challenges. Veterans, their families call every day, and no two calls are alike when it comes to trying to gather resources. And so when you can just, put those puzzle pieces together kind of like that, there's a great joy about that. Yeah. And I've had almost 20 years experience in doing that. So it fits pretty well. And we have a great team at KDVA. I will say, all of our employees.
910 employees.
910 across the state, and a lot of people don't know that.
No,
certainly.
I didn't.
No, but we have a lot of great team workers, and that's what it takes, because they certainly could go somewhere else and make a lot more money. I can tell you that.
Of course.
So we consider ourselves value-added. Well, it's a value-added career.
You've got the best expressions to describe what you do.
That's exactly right.
This is fabulous.
It's taking care of our heroes. And then, I was just on an honor flight
I know.
over
I love
D-Day.
that.
It was a 2-day honor flight. I got a chance to be a guardian for Colonel Fisher, and I just really love to serve. I mean, there are certainly moments that I don't mind leading, and sometimes you have to take the charge, certainly.
Right.
But there's a lot of moments where I kind of like to sit back and be the worker and serve, and nothing gives me greater joy than to see other people being given that joy. That's important.
Well, you give a lot of joy no matter where you go, and one of the things that I love about watching your Facebook and Instagram posts is the veterans that you are putting your arms around and hugging, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like bringing a smile to the face of someone, World War II veterans who are dying at just an incredibly rapid rate every single day, but seeing those primarily older gentlemen.
Yeah. Although we have some wonderful World War II women as well,
That's
certainly.
Right. And they just have these beaming smiles on their faces as you stand there with them. I just love to watch.
Well, I will tell you, on all the honor flights, I take a lot of red lipstick with me.
They
do. They ask for lots of kisses, and some even try to turn their cheek real quick. So, big smacker on the lips. But it really means a lot to be able to bring them joy, because they are so humble, certainly. But I always tell my girls, I said, hugs are handshakes in Kentucky. You know, maybe not anywhere else can you get away with, you know, greeting someone with a hug, but especially in our veterans community.
That's right.
They love that. And we do have a lot of great women veterans in the state, too. In fact, out of 300,000 veterans that we have, 24,000 are women.
That's wonderful.
With a very high ratio of women here. And that's going to be, it's going to estimate to grow over the next 20 years.
You can see it right now.
Absolutely, you can. And it's something that I know my youngest daughter's talked to me about going into the service as well.
That would be Taylor, who you saw popping in just a moment ago.
Absolutely, my strong-willed child. She's number 2. Love her dearly.
Is she your firecracker baby?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
4th of July, 12:01 a.m. in the morning.
Made it.
Went in on July 3rd thinking, you know, Steve, we cannot have a child on 4th of July. People would just roll their eyes, right? And I mean, that horrible to even think that you have to think that way. And she just would not come out. And about 11:30 at night, I had been in labor all day long.
Oh, Lord.
And 11:30 at night, it just started. And 12:01 in the morning, she came out.
And she's a firecracker, all right.
She certainly is. And so to have both their birthdays, the 4th and the 6th, means, as you parents know, I just went through about 3 days worth of partying, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
3 days of party.
Because, you know, the 5th has to be the combined sort of stuff. But they both decided this year they wanted to have a few friends over, and a few came in to be 16 friends, and I was just like, that's not quite a few.
I love it. So Lisa Ray Pantoja is watching, John Corder, Olivia Eels. Just say hi if you know any of these people. Pam Uselton, Rebecca sends another kiss. Dan Crompton, Terry Howard, Peter Cersei, great musician.
Oh yes.
And oh my God, this is so funny. I don't remember this, Catherine. She says, I remember after the Miss J-Town pageant, the year you won, our families had breakfast together at the hotel.
Oh, I'm sure.
Your family was lovely, and our dads reminded us so much of each other. See, that's what I was just telling you, the Agent Orange. Thank you for your service as a family member, and his for his love of our country.
Aw, thank you.
Isn't that nice?
That's great. Miss J-Town. Boy, that takes me back. You know, people don't know. Some people do, obviously. It took me half a decade to win, you know, Miss Kentucky.
It was worth the effort.
5 years of local pageant.
We're going to talk about pageants here in a minute, but first I have to let you know, Mary Kay Corfidge, another great dog rescuer, says thanks to you both for making a difference in our community. Tracy Sprouse is watching. She has Strider, the therapy horse. Have you seen a mini? You know what a mini looks like?
I do, yes.
So Strider is a therapy mini, and his name is Easy Strider. But my mom and I were out in August to her little farm. She's got a little urban farm with a bunch of little mini horses.
Oh,
and of course, I grew up with miniatures. So Strider decided to take advantage of the moment with my 97-year-old mother sitting there having lunch in the yard and mounted one of the little mares.
Oh.
And Tracy almost died of embarrassment. She's like, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Bassett. My mother says, honey, it's only natural. And you know, the doggone horse got pregnant, and I don't know yet. Let's see if Tracy tells us if it's a little filly. But she said if it was filly, she'd call her Rosie.
Oh my goodness gracious!
In my mother's honor. So anyway, Tracy's watching. Tim Schooler, Vicki Petsy. Vicki, we are in the park, and there are ticks all around us. Vicki is the president of the Kentuckiana Lyme Disease Association.
Oh, very important issue. You're working
this
outside.
will probably be the highest rated show that I've had, but Vicki had 7,000 views talking about Lyme disease.
Oh, well, you know, it's a very important issue, whether it's your dogs, your children, yourself. Stephen is out working on Floyd's Fork today at one of the farms, and I got to tell you, it's a huge issue right now when they're going in the fields and working. Permethrin
is the key. Permethrin is something that you spray on your clothes, your hats, in case they drop on us out of the trees, and you don't necessarily put it on your skin. You can use Deep Woods Off for that, but the permethrin is great for camping.
I just like saying that word.
Permethrin. I know. I love it too. So Vicki told me about that. Susie Gafford Bright, who is a fabulous animal rescuer. Kim Johnson, Ricky Burks, Chaz Rowe. Hi, Chaz. David Pate. Oh my God, that's a name from the past. Debbie Gober, Diane Atherton, Rosemary Sweeney. Love you, Rose. We're having so much fun here with Heather French Henry at Big Rock. If you couldn't figure that out, anybody who's a Louisvillian knows where Big Rock is, but I couldn't find it.
I had to give her directions. Well, you know, Taylor dog walks over here.
That's why she knows.
It's a beautiful park. I've been lost in Cherokee Park more than one occasion. For an urban park, it sure is.
Do you know what's scary? One night we were walking in the park and the dark just fell.
Right. And then the lights come on and you're thinking,
black out there. And I was on the back side of the walking path. And I've got the dogs, and I was like, okay, you guys, it's your responsibility to get us home, you know? And then I read that dogs don't have any better night vision than I do. So we're all kind of screwed.
Hopefully their
Seriously.
protecting instincts sort of come into play.
I think they took good care of me because obviously I'm here. But so we're rambling now. We're on several different subjects, but one of the most important ones is what Heather has done for veterans. And you know, I've said this to you before, and I'll say it again and again because it's something that I will never forget about you. You got the honor guard for Mother's funeral.
Well, it was very important when you reached out to us, and she being a veteran, you know, it is our job to make sure that we provide that legacy of honor. And at the end of a life of a hero, it is extremely important that we show that.
Yep.
And so I was very proud that we were able to gather the resources. And I have to give, you know, Cletus Evans a huge shout out to from the Marine Corps League.
Al Broussard.
And Al Broussard and his wife from the Marine Corps League, a big shout out to help. It's really about, you know, the word community in the Webster's Dictionary, which is very interesting. The definition means joint ownership.
Oh, wow.
And such is the case within the veterans community.
Sure
to be
is.
able to have the friends and supporters that we have, so that when we need support and we reach out, there's never been a moment where I've reached out to ask for assistance or to gather resources in a creative way that that they have failed to bring.
That's right.
You know,
well,
110%.
And the flag ceremony is so beautiful, but I tell you what, they brought the rifles, and there were many people in that church who'd never been exposed to a military funeral before.
It's interesting, isn't it?
We didn't have
now
a gravesite, you know, because it was all just a mass, and that she came to visit me and she passed away, and all of a sudden, you know, we're like, well, how are we going to do this? And they went outside St. Francis of Rome and stood in the middle of Clifton and fired those rifles, and I'm sure everybody in the neighborhood heard it. And there just tears pouring from the people who were there. It was just so beautiful. So once again, thank you for that.
Well, it's a pleasure, certainly, and it's especially for you know, for the families of our fallen and our veterans. That's a memory that you'll carry the rest of your life. And what we showed our community, you know, George Washington once said the willingness of future generations to serve will be directly dependent on how we treat those who've already served.
Oh, wow.
And that's a pretty profound statement coming from our very first president of the United States, and it rings true today just as it did then. Because we have to be able to show to future generations that we care and we honor that service. If we don't, then why on earth would they want to serve?
Well, it's like in the Japanese culture, you know, families of 4 generations live together, and everybody takes care of each other.
Well, Stephen thinks that should happen in our house too. Now that Harper is going to be a senior and she's going to college, he thinks that she should, you know, we should retain that tradition. And I will say, as a mama, you know, I always thought I'd be ready to sort of let them go, and I'm a little concerned.
Not sure.
But she, you know, both of my daughters are extremely great. And
they're fabulous.
Harper is very much so a responsible child. And she, you know, she already works, she has a job. Even though I told her, I said, you do realize that when someone else dictates a schedule, that also impacts my schedule.
Exactly.
And we got some issues. But
is she driving?
We're learning how to drive.
Oh, okay. Who's teaching?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Greta the dog.
Greta is teaching her how to drive. I have taken her out several times.
Good.
It is not without a lot of anxiety that I go through that. I really think my father should come back up here and teach her how to drive. I think my dad would be perfect.
I think you're right.
Yes. My father, who, if he could handle Vietnam, then and that transition home, which he went through, he could handle that.
I don't know. I think that's asking a lot.
I'm just saying. I might have to call a few friends out there to help me with that.
Auntie Tara will be happy to help you with that. Steve, how is he as a driving instructor?
I thought you were going to say, how is he driving?
Just laugh.
Well, that's a totally different subject. Steve is great. Steve, you know, I think any parent teaching their child how to drive is certainly, there's a lot of anxiety that goes with that.
Yes.
And I think it's more so that you don't want anything to happen to them.
Right.
Certainly. So I think that's where parents probably are too close to the fire, maybe, and that's why it's good to have someone
good to step back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, when Steve has time, Steve is I got to tell you, for a man who's supposed to be retired,
and he's not.
You know, he retired from government and medicine about 2008, and I got to tell you, he is still insanely busy. He's a man that's always worked as well. like I said, he's got over 6,000 acres on Floyd's Fork, and he just purchased another parcel of land to decrease the amount of homes going out there, which is very important for the life of Floyd's Fork.
Yes.
And we were just at the Fort Castle Festival with the Fort Castle Foundation, and thank them for being a great partner.
I can't believe you're still alive after that weekend.
Let me tell you,
it was exhausting.
But it's great though, because you see such a different, diverse group of people. And for us as a foundation, and most people out there who lead groups and foundations, it is essential that you grow your base.
That's right.
And you have a very traditional base of people who are usually older, that give, that care, just because that's their moment in life, right? They're at that moment. But we really have to start investing time and energy into the younger generations. And we know that they may not have the resources to give yet, but they do have things that offset that, like social media capability, and they know how to get involved in that way, and they're young and have energy.
They do.
I will take
the
free young
millennials.
labor any day.
Yes.
Certainly. And so I think it was very important for us, and Fort Castle, just in and of its name, it has built such a great reputation. So for them to take us on as a partner in one of their environmental causes is great.
It is.
And so we were there. Of course, people don't want to talk to you till the music's playing. And we're right there by the main stage, and you're just like, yes!
What?
I know, you're like,
that's when being old is really not handy, because you've got the little listening thing, Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
Exactly. And then we also got to see great music. I get introduced to groups like Father John Misty, who I'm now a huge fan. I come from a musical family, so music has definitely been a part of my life. So the whole atmosphere is just really cool.
How often do you get to sing?
I get
Besides
to
my
sing,
old Kentucky home.
or the national anthem, or God Bless USA.
Yeah.
Those are my 3 most requested songs.
Yes, of course.
Just so you know, I do love it.
Heather's top 3.
Yes, I do love it when I'm also asked to not only be the keynote speaker, but also
the singer.
singer as well.
Exactly.
So that provides a little interesting dynamic. So
Keep your vocal cords warmed up.
Flexibility's in the contract. You just never know when you're just going to have to belt it out.
Well, you won talent, I think.
The last year I competed.
The last
Miss
year you
Kentucky.
competed, yeah.
Well, it's so funny. So my parents started out in rock and roll music.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
They have gone from everything from like Satan in the Centers to Kon-Tiki and the Raptors to Diana French and Company, then to gospel music. That's when we came along, and so we sang at all these one-room little
French
churches.
family singers.
That's exactly like the Von Trapp family, certainly. And so when I grew up, then I went into musical theater, then jazz music, and I've always continued to love to sing, certainly, as everyone in my family does. And we've played a lot of instruments, but I do love being on the stage, there's no doubt. And I think that's why the pageants, specifically Miss America, really was the perfect platform for me. It wasn't my whole life, but it made a perfect situation of gathering community service plus talent, being on stage like I was at musical theater. So it was really kind of a natural fit for me.
Right. Well, so we segue now into the Miss America line of Heather's work. We alluded briefly to the gowns.
Yes.
The Frenchie gowns.
Frenchie prom.
I
Yes.
like that. That's so cute.
Frenchie was my dad's nickname in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'll never forget going to his reunion. He was 3rd Battalion, 1st Marine Corps Division, and they were here in Louisville. And I walked in, and they go, "That's got to be Frenchie's daughter. She looks just like him."
You do.
Yeah.
If he shaved.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I don't
hard
have
to
quite.
tell
I
with the
have
beard.
a few whiskers as I get older that I have to pluck. But we
I
did have
told
the
the
same
woman
profile.
who did that for me
Everything.
today that I was appearing on camera with Miss America. I said, help. Anything you can do.
Please, you're
help.
beautiful. You're
Anything
gorgeous.
that you can do to help me. Lee Baucom's watching. Dana Ashley, who was Miss Indiana, went to Miss America.
Absolutely. That's right.
Debbie Gober, thank you, Heather French Henry, for all you do for our veterans. Patrick Paybon, Susie Rocky, David Lang, Don Birch is watching. McKenna Johnson, who is the daughter of my boss at Bridgehaven, Ramona, who you know.
She does a great job, by the way.
Thank you so much. Tell your mom, okay? Judy Nesbitt and Corey Lockhart, and the list goes on. So I'm just doing little bits at a time. I'm so glad that you had an hour to sit down and talk, because see all this immediate validation you're getting for all the good things you do?
Oh, well.
That's what's cool about Facebook Live.
Well, I love that. I know that you're not always going to have 100% supporters, but I certainly love, I love the love. That's very nice. We like to pass on the love.
After what I've been posting on my Facebook page, I'm sure I'm going to lose a number of viewers, but
That's
it's
exactly
awesome.
right.
So the Frenchie gowns, a huge part of it, but let's just go backwards for a moment. Let's go back to when you were a child in the log cabin in Augusta. So you started in pageants quite early.
Oh my gosh, you guys
Yeah.
have to know this is so funny.
Toddler pageants.
Well, but not like Toddler and Tiara. Those things that makes me cringe a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
So when you grow up in a small rural county, like everybody gets put in the little Mr. and Miss pageant.
Yes.
You know, the local fairs, Miss Germantown Fair or Ewing Fleming County Fair, Sardis Harvest Festival, Miss Sorghum Festival. I've had some. My tiara was even made out of sorghum. Let me show you. The first biodegradable
Do you
tiara
still have
ever. Oh no, I think it's probably
you eat it?
disintegrated. Yeah, right. That's an edible crown right there.
God.
So
That's hilarious.
I have quite a collection, but I always enjoyed it. And in fact, they didn't really have preteen during my time. That has been something that's been relatively new in the last few decades.
Right.
But so when we finally got to like junior miss and I started being successful, like I couldn't win a pageant when I was little. That's the funny thing, right? And so I bought my first tiara at a rummage sale. Which
Just so you could have one.
Rummage sale is the country term for a yard sale for you city people out there. In the country, we call them rummage sales.
Rummage.
A rummage sale. And so that was when you could get rhinestone stuff for like a dime.
Nothing,
And now
yes.
you go to the antique malls and it's like $50.
Yes.
So I took $3. I literally took a $2 bill. Y'all don't even know those exist.
No.
But Perry Poe, who's a local auctioneer in Augusta who MCs all the pageants, when you're little and you are in one of his pageants, he gives away these $2 bills.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
they're still like
cool.
sanctioned. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had a $2 bill and a $1 bill. I took it to the rummage sale, bought myself a tiara because I could not win one. And that became like I was princess everything. You know, I was Belle before Belle was even a thing
you are
for
so
Disney. I had the yellow
funny.
gown with
Oh,
the
my
long
God.
brown hair and the tiara and everything. And so when I then became, I think it was like 9 maybe, I actually won my first one. It was Miss Riverfest Regatta, which just happened in Augusta. And in those days, it was a costume pageant.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and so you had to dress like a Southern belle. Well, I entered the pageant. I told my mom like the day before. And so my mother, who's a beautiful seamstress, just amazing work. She literally took down some curtains and like the rows of ruffles, totally Scarlett O'Hara.
God, with the curtain rods, like Carol Burnett.
almost. So she
shoulders.
took the ruffles off, and it made the cascade of ruffles that go up the back of the Southern Belle dress.
Oh, my Lord.
We didn't have a hoop skirt because, you know, there's no internet in those days. You couldn't just order something like
Right.
a hoop skirt. She made casings in the skirt and put copper wiring. So every time I sat down...
Is she amazing?
Oh my God, it was, and it's still beautiful.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I won. There was no age limit in that pageant, so I won that. So
You
my
won because of the dress.
I won.
It
It
wasn't you.
wasn't me at all.
It wasn't you
wasn't
in the
me.
sorghum tiara.
No, not at all. So that was the very first one. And then when I got into junior miss, then I started being more successful. But I remember my mother setting me down, and she said, "Here's the deal. Everyone can be a gracious winner. It is much harder to be a gracious loser.
Yeah.
If we get into a moment where you don't win place or show,
Like a heifer.
that's right, or a horse
At the state fair.
then and you get nasty about it, we're done."
That's it.
And that was a good lesson for me when I was young. I've had the same discussion with my girls and things that they've done. And I think every parent really needs to. In this world, you will have winners, you will have losers, no matter what you're in. You're going to get the job, you're not going to get the job. You're going to be first in line, you're going to be last in line. And so that was a very important lesson at that time. And so I started looking at each one of those competitions more like a show. Because
Yeah.
I was doing musical theater, I was in Girl Scouts, I was in youth groups, so it was just part of my life.
It wasn't the be-all, end-all.
It wasn't at all. And so I had a good time. It was a great hobby.
Right.
I just happened to be really good at all the facets of that hobby.
Absolutely.
Certainly. And in the end, if you won, you got this incredible tiara that wasn't I did get the
Wonderful.
sorghum. Yeah.
And it wasn't a rummage sale either.
And it wasn't a rummage sale tiara. And so I just really found that I enjoyed it. I was successful at it sometimes. And I will tell you, there are moments that I did not win, a lot of moments. And when I won Miss America, I'll never forget one of the editorials in the paper at home, in the Ledger Independent, someone wrote in, "Oh, it's so great she won Miss America, but she never really could win Miss Germantown." You're right.
Finally!
I was
Give
first,
the girl her crown.
I know. I was like first runner-up 2 years in a row to 2 great young ladies, and I just there are going to be moments where you're just not going to win, certainly. But
Do you know when
learn
I
a
was
lot.
in a pageant in Oregon, they used to do these things where they'd have 2 people crowned at the same time to save
like
money.
a sweeper, yeah.
Sweeper.
Mhm.
And so they had this one girl and
People
I
out there
won.
going, "Sweeper,
Yeah,
what?"
all these names. And her mother could not get her to do anything after she won. the title.
Like she wouldn't represent the title?
No, she just wouldn't do anything at home. She was so hung up on being the winner.
That's not how my mama raised me.
So the woman says to my mother, how do you make Tara do anything? And she says, I say, Queenie, take out the garbage.
With the crown on.
Which is exactly what you need to do. And then, God, I'll never forget this. I was Miss Portland. I was Miss Portland in Oregon, right? Not Miss Portland, Louisville. I was Miss Portland in Oregon. And at that time, they were taking the crowns back. Because for whatever reason, I don't know whether we were out of metal like we were during the war, what was going on.
Recycling.
They were
reuse, recycle.
They were not letting us keep our damn crowns.
Oh my gosh.
So this jeweler.
Do I need to buy you a crown?
I just
got
wore yours once.
Yes.
So this jeweler in Portland bought me a crown, but it wasn't a Miss America crown. It was this gigantic thing that like Miss Universe would have worn.
Oh, right, like the old days,
Huge.
like the big ones.
And so he gave it to me, and I was so thrilled. I was like, oh, this is the ugliest thing ever. But anyway, I kept it. So I keep it, and I keep it, and I keep it. It's in Mother's china closet. Daddy passes away. So Mindy, my best friend Mindy, is going to sing at the funeral. We go to Atlanta. And we're thinking, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? My dad's, wonderful man. He's died, and Mother's really struggling. And so Mother and I are in her bathroom the night of the wake, and we're putting on our makeup, and we're getting our clothes on. And Mindy, who's 5'10", wearing all black, comes around the corner in the crown and says, I'm ready.
Oh my God.
And Mindy, she's pretty damn funny.
Yes.
And my mother just burst out laughing. And that's what she needed.
That's
so
exactly.
Thank God for that gigantic, ugly crown.
Let me tell you, there are a lot of great lessons that you
Your
can
crown
learn.
is awesome.
Yeah, so I have the Millennium
crown. You had the only
So this
cool
is very
crown.
important for people in Kentucky to know.
Yes.
So while I am the only Miss Kentucky to win Miss America, I'm not the only Kentuckian to have won Miss America. Venus Ramey, she was Miss Washington when she won. Phyllis George Brown was Miss Texas when she won.
That's right.
But the only one to carry the Miss Kentucky title to Miss America to win. So it was the Millennium Miss America, right?
2000.
And so they had this special crown. And so all week long, they're like, we're going to crown her like she's never been crowned before. And we're all sitting on stage in rehearsals going, what, are you going to shoot her out of a cannon? You're going to like parachute the crown in.
Exactly. There you go.
But it did wind up being this beautiful 14-karat gold crown with red rubies in it and Swarovski crystal. And it's the only one of its kind, certainly. And so I was crowned with that one. And it was quite perfect because I had a blue and white dress. The crown was red and gold. I mean, my platform was veterans. You couldn't get much more patriotic.
Exactly.
So about 2 days after I was crowned, my traveling companion hands me this other box. And in the box was the traditional silver and crystal crown.
And
I was like, that's not my crown. What is that?
You can have a Coke.
And exactly. And she said, well, because we need to take this one off the road because of the insurance and it's so highly valued. And I was like, the woman I am today would probably have been like, I'll pay for the insurance, whatever. So I give it back. I traveled really most of the year with the silver and crystal crown.
Yes.
And really for 7 years, they kept the gold crown.
What?
My dad called every day.
Why do I not know this
to the
story?
Miss America organization.
Terrible.
Oh, my dad called all the time. And like every week, he'd call and say, when is my daughter getting her crown back? When is my daughter getting her crown back? And he was so convinced that it was a Marine Corps crown too, because he's a Marine, yellow and gold, or yellow and red. So anyway, eventually they moved offices from Atlantic City to Linwood, and in doing so, they re-presented me my crown at Miss America. Phyllis George was there, and it was like Niagara Falls.
Of course.
They didn't ask for the other one back. So I actually have two.
Don't tell anybody.
The other one is a little worse for wear.
Oh
I will
gosh.
say it needs to go to the Crown Hospital and get fixed.
Well, you took that on the show when Becca and I had you on the show and held it over Becca's head.
Yes.
And it was the greatest joy of her life.
I'm telling you, I
so exciting.
got such a kick. I still get a kick. I know people, have varying opinions about Miss America, but I will tell you that people genuinely just light up when they see that it's American. Well, it's an American icon. It's been around for almost 100 years. It is just, there's so many traditions and so many stories. We've lasted throughout time. We are the original reality show. And you put the crown on people's heads. And the best one,
actually.
Yeah, you put the crown on people's heads, and it's just like they stand a little taller, they smile. I've had more men try the crown on than women. I mean, I have people that still to this day, I've got a picture of you crowning my dad. It's on our mantle at home.
That's wonderful.
I mean, what are the chances that you're going to meet one of us? We're like urban legends,
That's
right?
right. That's
you
right.
know, we all still
Like
travel. Like the Yeti. I hope I'm better looking than a Yeti, but you know, I'm just saying. You know, I did shave my legs today.
Well, here we are in the park.
In the park,
so
you never know what might come out.
I'll be the Yeti. She can be the Miss America.
But it is true, because people will determine what they think about the entire organization, its history, its present, its future, by just meeting one of us.
That's right.
And so it's a lifelong responsibility.
Yeah,
I
and
will
it's
say
a sisterhood, you say.
it's
all
very
the
much a
time.
sisterhood, with its own ebbs and flows of a sisterhood as well, certainly. But we all have our own passions. It's pretty dynamic, but just that complete history. I mean, to stand on a stage next to Lee Merriweather. I mean, come on. You know, and you go, I am from Maysville in Augusta, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Why am I standing here?
And Phyllis George, my
and
God,
Phyllis,
she's the
and,
most awesome woman in the world.
Right? I mean, it's just incredible.
And Susan Powell, and
who is just freaking
and
hilarious. Vanessa Williams.
Thank God she came back into the fold.
She did, and then Suzette Charles, who actually
Love
took over
her.
during her year, so they're kind of both in the fold. But I mean, all of the sisters are so great, and we're all out there traveling. But the chances that someone's going to meet more than one of us is really kind of remote.
Very remote.
And so when you're in Walgreens at midnight getting cough medicine for your girls in a ball cap, which if I'm
Trying
not having to fix
hide.
my hair, I do wear a ball cap just
Trying
like
to
every
hide.
day. And it's so funny, and somebody goes, Miss America, and you go, why, yes, I am. How are you? I mean, you just have to. You
Like,
have,
yes, I am.
Yeah.
I am.
But you
Straightening
do.
her clothing.
And I do think, I'm not sure people, especially during state fair time, my first name becomes collectively just Miss America. It's just Miss America, Miss America. I mean, it's what people, and I'm very proud of that. And it does not, it doesn't do anything negative for me. I realize that it's a lifelong title and a mission, and I worked hard for it. It gave me my scholarship, paid for my undergraduate, my master's. So I have a lot of great desire to see it continue to thrive. But it is, it's very interesting that, you know, I'm not Heather.
And a couple of other Miss Americas who are extraordinarily in the news these days: Gretchen Carlson, Kate Schindel.
Yeah, Kate.
And several of the other women who you kind of have created, like the gang of how many?
Well,
and
right.
taken over the Miss America pageant board.
So
of
there's
directors.
there's a new board, and we've seen people kind of come and go from the board, but you know, continuing to work toward the live telecast, which is going to be September 9th.
Yes.
So we're excited about that on ABC.
My dad's birthday, which I love.
That's great.
And by the way, Kyle Shepard and I, you know, from the zoo. Kyle.
Yes, absolutely.
Kyle and I like to watch the pageant on our Facebook from home.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
and
from
so
our homes.
Oh,
and
very
so
nice.
One year she said to me at you know, whatever halftime was, there was a big long commercial break, and she called and she goes, "Can I just come over in my pajamas and watch the rest of the pageant?" So we got together and we had a ball.
Pajama party.
This year we're going to have a Miss America watching pageant because we want to see what it's like without swimsuit.
Right, so that is a big move. But I will tell you, it's so funny because I know that it did start out as a swimsuit competition, but you know, things have changed over time, and Miss America has been a wonderful reflection of society over time. So we added evening wear, like BB Shop was the first to be crowned in evening wear instead of a swimsuit. We added talent, we added scholarship. In 1988, we added the platform, which was a big shake-up too. And Kaylani Leigh Rathko, I can't even believe that Kaylani's like a sister that's amazing. She's like the quintessential Miss America.
She was from Hawaii.
Yeah, and no, Michigan. She did the
she
Tahitian
was?
hula.
Oh, the hula.
Yes.
That's right.
And so she called me, you know, during the whole thing about swimsuit, and she goes, Heather, when the platform issue came on board, people had people just sometimes have a difficult time with change.
Yeah.
But we've always been a pageant that reflects society. And in this current just movement, when you're talking about, you know, scholarship and women and intelligence and talent, and and it's really only 4 minutes of the telecast and only 10% of the score. And you kind of think the job of Miss America, how you get that job needs to be a little more applicable, right?
Yeah, it doesn't involve swimsuit.
Really? And I will say this, I won swimsuit. I worked my tail off.
So did I, by the way.
Certainly, which, you know what?
It was tough.
Yeah, absolutely it was. But, you know, I think in this day and age, working out should be much more about a lifestyle.
Right.
But it can be a very empowering moment. Believe me. When I was in that swimsuit at Miss America,
Yeah.
I felt how every woman really wants to feel
That's right.
in their swimsuit.
And they always say if you can
Yeah.
walk down the runway in a pair of high heels and a swimsuit,
you can do anything. There is no doubt about it. There is nothing that's that scary anymore. But I think that we have a bright future. I mean, we are still the nation's largest scholarship provider for young women, and I anticipate this to be a very exciting show. I think there's always, in this day and age, a lot of competition on television. I mean, look at television. I mean, my goodness, we've never had more shows that have, some have substance, some have none, and people still watch all of it. You know, it's amazing. So we're really looking forward to that 100th anniversary in a couple of years and beyond. We will always continue for that mission to educate young women. And the telecast is really just sort of the annual gala for us, right? And I think people ask me all the time what Miss America's like. It's a 365-day job.
It is.
Right? A year job.
It is.
And so the telecast for us is our largest fundraiser, and it is what the public sees of us.
Right.
Unfortunately, the public that's what they only kind of see because it is the nationally telecast or televised portion.
Right.
So it's important for us that telecast be entertaining, but also be reflective of what it is to become Miss America. And these young women who've just won their state titles, who are coming to compete, are so excited, and we're excited to have them in Atlantic City. And there's nothing like being at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City or being in the Show Me Your Shoe Parade on the Atlantic City Boardwalk. I mean, where decades of young women have come before you, and you know that they will come after you. It's a great moment in life. And I always tell young women, you know, after you get married and have kids, you'll never once again have a moment like this. This is just for you.
It is.
You know, you need to embrace it. So I went in with that experience. I had a blast. Whether I was going to win or not, I said, I'm going to walk away making the best friends, having the greatest experience, and I did. I lived it up.
And I was in the Weather Center watching that pageant.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody from the newsroom was running back to see who was going to win, because you were going to be our first Miss Kentucky to win Miss America, and it was such an exciting moment. What we were alluding to a little bit earlier is a whole new board has taken place in the Miss America program, and the Miss America pageant offices have always been, you know, in that area, Atlantic City, Linwood, and the convention center is the big place that everybody, you know, does the competition, and where thousands of people literally fill up this humongous place, football fields long. And as a matter of fact, you know, in 2000, when Monica Hardin was Miss Kentucky, when we had 9/11, they took all of the contestants to the basement of Convention Center because it was a bomb shelter.
Right, exactly.
And it was very difficult because they didn't know what was going to happen next, and what bigger, you know, American icon institution than the Miss America pageant, which happened to be going on at the time. So they were very, very concerned about the safety of the women. And I remember we were all trying, because I worked a little bit with Monica, and we were all trying to get a hold of her, and it was just terrifying.
Well,
you know, that we couldn't, but we knew they were safe in that that gigantic Fort Knox-like place.
There was more security there than a lot of other places. I actually, on 9/11, happened to, you know, she was in Atlantic City already rehearsing at rehearsals. I was in Rochester, New York with my dad doing a veterans healthcare screening. So that was, I mean, I remember calling Stephen back home, and the Capitol, they were clearing out the Capitol here in Kentucky, and it was just, what a time. And for that group of young women, they actually had to make the determination of whether or not they were going to proceed with the competition. And I am so proud of their bravery, because it truly, Miss America, whether or not you like it, you love it, you hate it, whatever, it is a symbol of Americana.
It is.
And there would have been nothing more that someone who wanted to destroy that or showcase that they hated America than to target Miss America. And really, the young women were the ones that determined whether to proceed or not, and they collectively voted to move on. For Miss America. And then Katie Harmon became our Miss America, and she did a beautiful job. She still gets very emotional.
From Oregon, yes.
From Oregon, the only as well. But she still gets emotional talking about what it was like to, you win this title. It's a time of pomp and circumstance, but you go straight to ground zero.
Right.
How do you do that? And I think that being in that role, you have to learn when the moment is celebratory, right? When you wear the crown, and then the moment that you become the Miss America who serves.
And it's solemn.
And one of my favorite, I use a hashtag all the time when I talk about services, hashtag Miss America serves. Because in and above anything else, Miss America is a public servant. And if there's one thing I would like to instill more and more in our young women who compete, is that, yes, there is a glamorous part of it. Yes, you do. You know, I sang at Carnegie Hall, the Kennedy Center, and I went to all these amazing things. But in the end, hashtag Miss America serves.
Absolutely.
That's really what our mission is about, and it continues for a lifetime. So it just sets you up to be able to see what else you have to do. Miss America is not a destination for our young women. It's just, it's a part, a big part, but it is a part of their journey to who they're going to become. The crown doesn't make who they are.
Right.
They can make some extraordinary strides with that crown.
Yes.
But it is part of this incredible journey that these women will be on.
Well, and 2 points to be made here. The first is you had one of the most, what I remember is the most relevant platform that ever came out of platforms. I mean, there were a lot of people who were doing wonderful things, and I'm not diminishing them in any way, but I think you captured the imagination of the country when you said, homeless veterans are my top priority because that's what happened to my dad.
Right. Well,
and you really jumped, or go ahead.
That's right. My uncle was actually the homeless veteran.
Yes,
your uncle, who was found in Daytona Beach in Florida. He went into the Serenity House, which I actually did a couple of fundraisers there during that year and shortly after. But both my dad and uncle had a difficult transition coming home from Vietnam, and I think that experience, being in a family like that, my brothers and sisters, you know, there is a great ripple effect that happens in military families because of that military service, and being raised, seeing that, knowing that, but then knowing that there's great hope out there and resources that are available that millions of people may not know about. So when Miss America takes on a platform like homeless veterans, it was just such a niche, like it made people turn twice, like what?
Yes.
Because people didn't even know that we had 250,000 homeless veterans on the street at any given time. And this was at a time when I think our country had grown pretty apathetic in a patriotic way. It was years after the first Gulf War. You know, we had stigmas with PTSD, mental health. The VA was going through some influx as well. And not every politician out there clamored to be on board with Veterans Affairs.
Right.
And the civilians, by and large, didn't know much about Veterans Affairs. And so it was an uphill battle sometimes. I mean, I remember senators blaming me for the increased enrollment in the VA. Like, that daggone Miss America would stop talking about veterans issues in the VA. We wouldn't be having to give more money to the VA. And you're like,
thinking, right?
yeah, I'm like, well, okay, sure, blame me. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we did some extreme work. But I will say, you know, all my sisters, with the platform issue, it allows you to work in some extraordinary ways, like legislative issues and policy. And it's no wonder that now we have sisters like Mallory Hagan, who's running for Congress, and Erica Harold, who's running for Attorney General. I mean, that year, with your platform, you're working heavily in policy for that platform. And homeless veterans we did. And then it developed into this broad veterans arena where we were working on housing, health care. We did hepatitis C screenings, working on benefits. And then I started sharing more of our global story from our family perspective, a lot more about my dad, and have grown much more comfortable being very inclusive in that, which, you know, when you're from a small family, but when you share your story, it heals others, and it shows others.
Then you got into the prostate cancer prevention because of Steve.
Yeah,
so that was pretty amazing.
You know what's so interesting? If you'd ever tell me I'd be talking about the man's prostate.
Rectal polyps in dogs and your husband's prostate.
Digital rectal examinations. So that's, you know, and I talked about prostate cancer a bit with the Agent Orange exposure because it's a condition, a secondary condition of, and it is, you can get benefits for that certainly, but when Stephen was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I just had Taylor, and he had the radical surgery, and as a surgeon himself didn't know much about prostate cancer. His dad had prostate cancer, so it was hereditary, and we started going, how do Kentuckians, how do we educate more? And what was so funny is you think about all the creative ways you use resources, and you think about the state fair, which is really a natural area to really have this great healthcare horizons that they have, because you capture such a diverse demographic of people, right, from all walks of life. Definitely.
Miss America!
Yeah,
Miss America!
Exactly. You never know where she's going to be. And so we decided to partner with the Kentucky Cancer Program and the Health Horizons area and raise money to have free prostate cancer screenings at the state fair. And it's so funny. I always tell men,
that in itself is hilarious.
It is. I always tell men at these luncheons when I'm speaking, I'm like, you too When you pay to get into the state fair, you can get a digital rectal examination and a funnel cake in about 5 minutes. I'm telling you, we have it set up beautifully. So for men, you have to make it free, easy, and you got to feed them. And it's all like right there. I mean, the food court's right next door to it. And so,
and Miss America.
Yeah, I'm not doing the exams.
No,
I
promise
you.
That's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
Yeah, no, I get asked that a lot. But we have screened since 2004 over 16,000 men.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we have some men that come back, and this is their annual checkup. And we educate them about their PSA and the levels and the changing dynamics of prostate cancer research. And we have a lot of women from the breast cancer community that help us as well with that project. So we continue to do that every year.
I would say Miss America Serves has to stop at some point.
Oh, I don't know.
No digital rectal exams.
Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. I'll serve to get you to the door where the nurse and the doctor
You do so much good. And I really want to say, too, that the relevancy of the Miss America pageant has never been a problem for me, because when somebody starts to diss the pageant in general, I just look at them and I say, do you have college scholarships? Do you have any loans that are kind of outstanding? Right. You know, did you win anything to help you pay, or did you just have to do it out of pocket? And they look at me and they say, no, I have loans. And I say, I don't have any.
Yeah.
You've got a master's degree, for heaven's sake. You got everything paid for because of Miss America.
That's right.
So what's the plan? Are you going to stay on the board at this point and kind of shepherd the pageant through this change of time? And what are the changes that are taking place? Is talent going to get some more time?
It will get more percentage right now, certainly.
Good.
Time-wise, we discussed that, but our young ladies who had just won their state titles, there's a very short window of preparation between winning the state title and getting to Atlantic City.
So they're singing in 30 seconds, and now they can't fill 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, so it's a little different. So if you would have had to have taken your talent song and then broaden it in about that would have been a little stressful.
Yes,
so we thought about that, and that was true. So just looking at, how do you continue to make it exciting and applicable? And, in swimsuit, there has been, I will say, it has been a source of some discussion, even within the pageant community. You have diehard swimsuit fans, certainly, from some of our perspective. At the national level, what's interesting about Miss America, the states and locals don't suffer some of the hardships that the national pageant does.
Right.
So they're going to continue to get sponsors no matter if they had swimsuit or not, certainly.
Well, they're not as exposed.
Right. But the national pageant, however, competition, we get viewed from a totally different set of critics.
Right.
And when we're looking at huge corporate sponsorships, their desire and what they see of us sometimes starts to change our trajectory a little bit, and we really need to be able to expand those sponsorships. And it has been one of the most challenging experiences for me being on this board. I would love to say it's 100% enjoyable.
No board work is.
And I will tell you, it's pretty thankless at times, certainly, but it is always great spirited discussion about the changes that have taken place and changes that may take place in the future, and trying to project a future. Our department has a $102 million budget for our Department of Veterans Affairs, right? So I know how to project into the future for budgeting items for the nursing homes, cemeteries, things like that.
Right.
When you're looking at the Miss America organization, which is primarily made up of wonderful volunteers at the state and local level, but then you've got this different entity up here that has a different set of standards that's being it has been challenged with.
Right.
I will say this has been one of the more challenging to be able to project, because while it is a grassroots up, it's also a top down. So you kind of, one changes the other, and you really have to compromise to really meet in the middle. And sometimes it's hard to find that sweet balance. And with the change that we went through in December and January, and then some of the changes that we've made on the basis of sponsorship and TV production, we're trying to find that middle ground. But I really think that once people see the show and they understand that you don't have to have swimsuit in order to make it an enjoyable show, because it really was. I think really it came down to be like 5.5 minutes of TV. But that's not meaning, and I'm not slighting people who enjoy the swimsuit competition. I enjoyed getting ready for it, certainly. It's just the pressures that we have are quite different, and I certainly am very sympathetic to the states and the locals that may not understand a little bit of what we're having to look at too. And I have agonized, and it has taken tons of hours of board calls and spirited discussion about this. So none of it has been done lightly, but it's all been done with the future of the organization in mind, and how we continue to stay relative and make that job and that job search applicable to what the job is, certainly.
Exactly.
So we want to see it around for another 100 years. Certainly, it's just not about getting just to this telecast, certainly. But we are excited. Certainly, we've got a lot of great people. We've got the CREDA money. It was like $4.3 million that the casino redevelopment gives us in New Jersey. So we're very thankful for that. We've got great television production partners. We're going to be on ABC. So for all intents and purposes, it's going to be a great show. I'm excited to get back to Atlantic City. I'm excited for all the states and the executive directors and the local directors. If you can come, we certainly would love it. And
Kyle and I will be in our pajamas.
That's awesome. Having your Miss America pajama party. I would love to see posts of that, certainly. But sometimes I do think that people, especially at the locals and states, they may not think that there are some of us that have been a part, but we have been. I held 5 local titles. I held the state title. I absolutely adore all of our volunteers, and I really hope, if you're out there watching, know that we really do care.
You do.
And it is a pleasurable struggle to go through, because it's been such a magnificent part of our lives, and we really are working to come together to see that. But there's always a few growing pains, certainly, in that transition. But I'm confident that
you're leading the charge.
Well, I'm not leading. Gretchen, I'm part of. These are the moments where I am certainly part of the working force. And it's very much a working board, because some of us are even doing some clerical work, certainly for the Miss America office, which we have small staff, certainly, but it's great to be able to do.
Who's emceeing the pageant this year? Do we know yet?
We don't know yet. So that's something that, like, ABC.
I think you should do it.
I'm not. Oh no, I'm good. I remember in my year we had Donnie Marie Osmond.
I know.
Love that. And then on the preliminary nights, after I won the next year, I emceed the preliminary nights with John Davidson.
Oh, I loved him too.
Absolutely. So that was a lot of fun. But I don't know, ABC, because they're the big television partner, they have a lot to say about that. And I know that our leadership is in discussion with them on those things, just like the celebrity judges.
Exactly.
We kind of all give the information we have on friends that we have for that, because you have a preliminary panel and then the celebrity panel. But, I'm not on those final decisions.
It'll be a surprise.
It'll be great. I just know that the show's going to be great. It's not going to be, the plywood stage in the middle of the horse rink. It's going to be
fun.
great.
It'll be spectacular.
As always.
Dana Ashley says, "Hi T, love you, and Heather, give you my best. Brad Leedy from Bridgehaven. Bill Richardson, thanks Heather French for helping the veterans. Sharon McWilliams, 2 beautiful, deep, wise women. Wow.
Ooh,
love your passion and your compassion. Heather, you are so right. Everything holds a gift, and here's the gift." And she's got a little crown on top of the emoticon. Cassie Simon, who is Bob Simon's wife, our meteorologist from 32.
Yes,
They've moved
right.
to Washington. Evan Stoner, who is a fabulous activist. David and Janet Hedrick. Emily DeGenis is watching, and she is a candidate for court who we love. She's going to be a judge.
Okay.
I know she is. She's fantastic, and she gave me the thumbs up for that one. James Green, let's see, Carol Shearer Furrow, who's Catherine Furrow's mom. Debbie Gober, and great story. I'm curious to know what a sorghum crown looks like.
Yeah.
Would you post
oh
one
my
of
gosh,
those?
I will have to find a
Post
picture.
one of
yes,
those.
because
Yeah.
I actually think it was I had to be in costume too, and I wore the costume I wore in Brigadoon.
Oh my God. Lyle Jane says, "Way cool, love her, tell her I said hello." Mark Pfeiffer is watching. Martha Bloom, Roz Tate, Cindy Good, Jamie Nicole, Julie Harity, Bill Hollander, our wonderful Metro Council, Linda Skaggs Dumpsdorf. It's 10 after. You probably have to go, don't you?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I have a few more minutes. I would love to give a shout out, though.
You can do whatever you want.
So, we've been talking about everything else in the realm of our lives, but I would love to give a shout out to Augusta, Kentucky, where I'm from. 1,400 folks. My great-great-great-grandfather founded Augusta in 1796. He also founded Middletown, Kentucky, which is just so random, right?
I had no idea.
Gosh, to be alive in those days. But we own the Rosemary Clooney Museum there.
Yes, you do.
And the Clooney family has been such a friend of ours. And Nina Clooney was Miss Lexington.
And George babysat you.
George used to watch us at the tennis courts when he would play, when my dad would play doubles tennis with my mom, and he always called me Piggy Sue. He'd try to pull my pigtails. And I'll never forget when I saw him after I won Miss Kentucky, he turned around and he goes, I still have bruises on my shins from you. I'm like, that's exactly what you want George to remember of you, right? That you kicked him in the shins. Great going, Heather. But, you know, Augusta in small town Kentucky and rural America, I really have to give kudos for keeping me grounded in a way that continues to show me, you know, real life. And when I go back home and I see people who, you know, I've known for my whole life, and their parents and their grandparents, there's nothing quite like standing on the riverbank in Augusta and Maysville, and you look out that Ohio River and you think, you know, this is home.
Yeah.
And Rosemary called me. She was the second phone call I received after winning Miss America. And she said,
who was the first?
Steve.
Silly question.
I know, right? And I was in tears. She was like, why are you crying? You just won Miss America. I'm like, I'm so tired.
Kind of like you are right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just exhausted.
I was like delirious. The last one that hasn't cried is the one that wins, I always say. But she called me, and she became a great mentor to me, and she said, never forget where you come from.
Yes.
And that was a very important lesson to me. She didn't. And to this day, you know, we want her life and legacy to live on as well. And we have like the White Christmas collection. We have costumes from her other movies as well. And what a great Kentucky woman she is. She was.
I got
the
to meet her one
driest sense
time.
of humor.
Yeah.
So funny. She would probably hate the fact we have a museum for her.
I think
but secretly down deep, she would.
I think she just loved you so much, and I know that, you know, I heard her speak of you several times, and just in such glowing terms, and you had such an important part in restoring that whole place and doing all the things that you needed to do to make it accessible, you know,
right?
And draw people to it, because
that's right.
It might not have gotten the publicity that it has gotten since you took over, right?
We get a lot of tours, the boats. I mean, Augusta is such a quaint community anyway, as is Maysville too. But Augusta has no stoplights. You know, it's about 4 blocks long, 4 blocks wide.
Signs.
You know, and it's pretty amazing.
Mayberry.
It is, absolutely. And at nighttime, after about 8 o'clock, it almost feels like you're walking on a movie set. It's like the Truman Show, and you're like, wow. You know, there's a ferry that goes across the river. It really is great. You've got a 2-star general that like lives down the road. Nick and Nina Clooney live there. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And I just, you know, I think people in Kentucky should feel very proud. And I know that we're not always shown in that light, maybe from the national perspective, but people in Kentucky should be very proud of just who we are. It's a very special state. We see it around big things like Derby and the hospitality and stuff, but it's true all over. And I'm proud to be from Kentucky. Without being trite, and this is the last question to end on a high note, what do you do on the dark days? What do you do to lift yourself up on the dark days? Well, I'm a very faith-based person, you know, and I'm sure everybody out there has their own level of faith, but being rooted in that has certainly helped me through a lot of dark times, certainly, and every day. There's not just days. Sometimes there are lots of moments throughout a day. I mean, let's face it, when you're at work, and I mean, there are moments during the day you can go from like up here to all the way down there, and you kind of feel like, what's going on with me? But my faith keeps me pretty rooted, and I know that that I'll survive. Yeah. You know, knowing that even though we're not guaranteed tomorrow, but all intents and purposes that, you know, the sun's going to set, the sun's going to rise, things are going to be great, and you start counting your blessings about what you do have, and then what really does matter, and that brings a smile to my face, certainly. What's on the scope of the evening here? For the evening, it's like 5:15. Yeah, what are you guys going to do? Yeah, I think we're going to head out to dinner. Steven's not home from work in Floyd's Fork yet, so, and you know, I got some teenagers over here I got to keep an eye on. Yeah, exactly. Mom, I'm starving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run around the corner of the table here, and I'm going to zoom in on what you're wearing on your right hand. Oh, right. Because I want to show that. And it's something that... My unmanicured hand. Are you going to look at my Fitbit? That's so great. Thank you. No. I want to show I'm not quite at my... I want to show them what's on that hand, because it's something that a lot of people are probably never going to have the possibility of seeing. So I'll just hold it there, and I'm going to zoom
zoom, and you
Don't
can
look
tell
at
the
my
story
poor
of it.
nails.
You can. I won't look at your nails. Your nails are beautiful.
Yeah,
Don't give me that.
I've had a manicure probably since Miss America.
Tell us.
please.
Yeah, right. Since
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah.
Tell us about the ring.
So the ring, this is the Miss America crown, and many of the Miss Americas have been given or made rings, and my husband actually had this ring made for me for my 30th birthday.
Aw.
Because he always wanted me to be able to remember that accomplishment. Even on, your ebbs and flows of your life, and even when I'm scrubbing the toilet in my daughter's bathroom,
That's right.
that I can look at this ring and just remember, I dreamt of the impossible, and through hard work and dedication, I was able to achieve it. And so it was his sort of rah-rah thing to give me to lift my spirits, and it continues to do so. And people get a kick out. It's like my Super Bowl ring. It has
Exactly.
no special powers or anything.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Love you too, Heather. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful night, everybody. We will see you on Monday, so hang tight.